Hey there, hola, ¿cómo estás? Friends and amigos, compañeros del mundo. I know it's been a while, all right? It's been over a week since I came back from vacation. And your old boy here, I've been catching up with work. I was a little behind on work and had to do a lot to catch up. Okay, so anyway, today's letter comes from a young man, Abdul Nasim, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Abdul Nasim, Grand Rapids, Michigan. He said, "Salam alaikum, my brother." Well, guess what, brother? I'm gonna say malaikum salam to you. But one thing I want you and anybody that watch my channel to know is that if you greet me by any religious way, I will definitely respond. But the truth is, I'm not really a religious person. Okay? I am a spiritual person. All right? I do not prescribe to Islam, Christianity, Hebrew, whatever. I am a man that deals directly with the Most High spiritually. I hope I'm not upsetting you by saying this to you. All right. He said, I binge watch your videos on your vacation, especially your Singapore videos. I am very interested in traveling to Singapore with my fiance for a vacation. If you can you please make a video for me about your experience and all the things you saw in Singapore? Not just your videos, but your true feelings about the city and what I should expect if I go there. Very simple letter, brother Abdul. Let me put this thing down. Brother Abdul. Well, what can I say about Singapore? This was actually, if you see my videos, this was actually my second time around going to Singapore. The first time was just my wife and I. This time, I dragged my daughter along. My daughter was sometimes a killjoy, but you know, that's just her nature. You know, she's not really, how can I say it? Flashy things don't impress her. You know, my daughter's more into like taking pictures of weird things like temples and, you know, things that don't impress me, impress her. So, you know, that's a different story. So anyway, you want to know how my experience was in Singapore? Well, there are many things I could talk about in Singapore, about Singapore. The first thing, if you're really, truly trying to take your woman out there, first thing I can tell you is make sure your pocket is deeper than you expect. All right, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna tell you like it is. Singapore is expensive as F. I'm talking about everything is expensive in that city. All right. Geographically, you know, Singapore is, some people don't know how far that place is, bro. Singapore is far. Okay, it's on this very southern tip of Malaysia. All right, Singapore, believe it or not, was actually part of Malaysia. I know Singapore is an island. It's a humongous island on the southern tip of Malaysia. And historically, some idiot leader, or I think it was a president or a ruler of Malaysia, kicked out Singapore from Malaysia as a punishment. Okay? Singapore, after being kicked out of Malaysia, was one of the poorest countries in the world, believe it or not. And some Chinese man, I don't even know his name, something Quan Li, whatever, he took it on his chest, you know, to how can I say it? to bring Singapore back to its feet. So I give him credit for that. Singapore is, as far as I'm concerned, the most beautiful city that I've ever visited. Okay? Now, believe me, your boy here, I have traveled around the world. I have seen the only continent that I haven't stepped foot on is Australia. Of course, Antarctica, I have no business going there. So I wouldn't even think about putting that on my bucket list. What am I going to do there? Black people don't like ice. Anyway, I tell you the truth, Singapore is expensive. But if your pocket is right, it's one of the most beautiful, not one of the most, it is the most beautiful city you can ever take a woman to. And that's no lie. Just the airport alone, Singapore's airport alone, it's a huge attraction. Okay? I know you saw my videos. They have this part of the airport called the Jewel. The only way I can describe it is like, imagine yourself in a sci-fi movie. It seems like unrealistic. That's the only way I can put it. You gotta be there. I know you seen my video of that place, but I don't think video do justice to that place. You actually gotta be there to see what I'm talking about. Okay? From the airport is like a humongous airport mall, futuristic place. I don't know how to describe it. You have to see it for yourself. That's the only way I can say. From the airport to the hotel to wherever you stay, man, Singapore have some of the most beautiful highways, roads I have ever seen. Okay? Oh, speaking of vehicles, Singapore don't have traffic problems like here in New York, or you in Michigan. I'm pretty sure you have hella traffic over there. Singapore has made it almost impossible for average person to buy a vehicle out there. You see my Toyota Camry that I'm driving? In Singapore, it will cost you about $120,000 to buy a Toyota Camry. If you think I'm pulling your leg, please do a research and you're gonna find out what I'm saying is true. If you want to buy a Mercedes, you're gonna spend about $350,000, $400,000 for a Mercedes out there. And guess what? Most of the people that own vehicles out there, I'm talking about private vehicles just like this, drive expensive cars. So that should just tell you how rich some people are living in that city. It is ridiculous, yo. It's like they've made it impossible for the average person to own a vehicle. So they have the best in the world when it comes to trains and buses. Over there they call it the MRT. Man, I know you probably saw that video, that little video I shot of their MRT system. The best, the cleanest, fastest. It's just, I remember after the first experience my daughter had on the MRT, she was like, oh man, it's gonna make it so hard for me to go back to New York trains now, to go back to New York subways, because over there, their trains is spick and span clean. Okay? You're not gonna see any, God forgive me for saying this, no homeless people, no bums, no thugs, no panhandlers, no somebody trying to sell. I mean, you won't see anything like that in their subways. And their subway stations, it's out of this world. Out of this world. Okay? Like, we stayed in the Kalang, Geylang section of Singapore. Now, I gotta tell you something. Singapore have classes. I don't want to say apartheid system, but they have classes of where some people can live, where some people can afford to live. Just like over here in New York, you know, the richest people live in Manhattan, and even in Manhattan, they have different places where the richest live, like Park Avenue, Madison Avenue, Lexington. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so in Singapore, I can say they have about 4 different levels of people that live there. You have the super ultra rich Chinese, right? Just watch that movie, Crazy Rich Asians, and you'll probably have an idea what I'm talking about. They have the super ultra crazy rich Chinese, and then you have the Europeans that are expats over there from all parts of Europe, and some from here in America. You know, the filthy rich people. Singapore is a playground for the rich. I'm not gonna BS you, okay? From them comes, you know, the second class will be like the Malays, you know, the super rich Malays, Muslims. You know, Malaysia is majority Muslim country, and Singapore was part of Malaysia, so a lot of Malays, the super rich ones, live and work in Singapore, and I would say they are the second class, right? And then comes the like the wealthy Indians, because there are 2 different levels of Indians. You know, you have the wealthy Indians, right? The ones that work with, you know, the computer savvy Indians, and then you have the lower class people. Even my daughter noticed this, and my wife noticed this too. The people in Singapore that do like the crappiest jobs are like the, you know, the Bangla Indians, the dark-skinned Indians. Yeah. It's sad, but it's true. You don't see the light-skinned Indians doing shitty jobs. It's only the dark-skinned Indians in that blazing sun. And yo, I also noticed something, right? Even around where we stayed, our hotel was like in a Chinese area, very nice and clean. Listen, about 90 to 95% of Singapore is spotless, clean. But it's like they have reserved a little area. I know the streets named by heart, from Lorong 12 to about Lorong 16, 18. All they have over there is like the black-skinned Indians. We went there and I was like, my wife was like, wow, how come this area is only for these people? And I was like, that's what apartheid is. The Chinese and the Malays and the rich Indians do not want nothing to do with them. It's like they have their own section in Singapore. All right? And you can tell, as clean as Singapore is, when it comes to those areas, I don't think the police even check on them, because that's the only place in Singapore you see like people hanging their laundry on the balconies, and it's just, that part of Singapore looks totally different from the rest of Singapore. It's amazing. All right. Now, one thing I noticed about Singapore too was besides everything being expensive, taxis was surprisingly cheaper than I thought. You know, we took taxis a couple of times to watch the the light show at Gardens by the Bay and coming back, and also from the airport to our hotels. I was expecting to pay about $50 or more for the taxi, and from the airport to our hotel was about a 30 minutes ride. The fare was like $25. I was shocked. I ended up giving the guy like $35, you know, because I was expecting to pay a whole lot more. Right? What else can I say about Singapore? Buck for buck, Mr. Abdul, don't think your dollar is going to be like you're going to Colombia or Philippines or someplace where the dollar goes a long way. No. Actually, Singapore is more expensive than any city here in America. So you change $100, it goes like this. My daughter changed $100. She bought a toy, like a little, I guess, gift for herself. And she was like, what the hell? The change she got back was like, she was out of it. Listen, Singapore is super expensive. So make sure if you're going there, your pocket is deeper than you will around where you at in Michigan. Carry extra cash because that place is dumb expensive. But one tip I can give you though is no matter where you stay, right? Every neighborhood in Singapore has something called hawker centers, okay? Food court. Listen to me, brother. Eat. Listen, no, if you're loaded, then don't listen to me on this. But if you want to eat on a budget, go to the hawker centers to eat. Otherwise, you'll be spending $100 for you and your fiance for just one meal. I'm not BSing you. I'm telling you like it is. If you go to the hawker centers, the two of you could spend on average, I would say for the two of you, $30 to $40 a meal, depending on how much you order. That will save you a lot of money. Do not go to the fancy restaurants in Singapore. If you're loaded, do it. But if you watch your money, the hawker centers is the place to eat. Okay? And also, one thing I must warn you about is in Singapore, a lot of the Chinese restaurants, they serve frog. Yes. Frogs. They eat a lot of people eat frogs out there. So make sure if you're going to a restaurant, especially since you being a Muslim person, a Muslim guy, make sure you check the entrance. Right? There's always a sign over there that says we sell frog in this restaurant. I think it's mandatory that they make that sign for them. So, well, actually, you being a Muslim, you won't have a hard time because they have a lot of Muslim, neighborhoods out there too. That's halal food, Indian food, and all that stuff. So when it comes to eating, I don't think it will be a problem for you. Okay? What else can I talk about? Religious institutions. My goodness. Listen, brother, you're a Muslim. I think finding a mosque to go pray will not be a problem for you, depending on where you stay. Okay? They have a huge Muslim part. They have a huge, the Indian parts, and the Chinese, Buddhist. They have all kinds of stuff, okay? Like my wife and my daughter, they are very liberal. They wanted to go into some of these mosques and especially the Indian temples. And I gotta tell you the truth. I was like, F no. Because, listen, I am not gonna... Look, if they wanted to go, I kind of cock-blocked them from going to these places. Because I am a spiritual person. And the last thing I want to see is go to some Hindu temple and, you know, go look at some deity with six limbs, like 4 hands and 2 legs or whatever. And, you know, like some of these Hindu temples or whatever temples, they have like cows on, you know, like statue of cows on the roofs and this and that. Listen, I did not want to go into those places. So, you know, call me whatever you want. I firmly believe prayer is a conversation between man and God, the Most High. So you're not gonna catch me in a mosque, in a church, in what you call, in a Hindu or Buddhist temples. You're not gonna catch me in none of them places. All right. I became a killjoy when it came to that. I put my foot down. I was like, no, nobody's going into none of these places. They hated me for a while, but they got over it. All right. What else can I say about Singapore, bro? Singapore is hot. Singapore is the hottest place I've ever been in my life that I can compare to Singapore is Dubai. Dubai is nasty hot. Singapore is hot almost as Dubai, but the only difference is Singapore get rains. Okay? So that makes it a little better. And also Singapore actually have natural umbrella trees all over the place. And also there are a lot of places that have like how can I put it? Sidewalks that is covered. Okay, so you don't have to walk in the blazing sun. Okay, yeah, even there are subway stations, you know, the MRT stations, the ones that's not underground. They have these humongous fans. Oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. It's a beautiful place. It is a beautiful, beautiful country. All right. So is there anything else I could say about Singapore? Let me think. I've talked about their airports, their hotels. Hotels is expensive. Hotels is expensive. No, unless you want to be like them budget travelers that stay in like capsules hotels. They have places like, you know, that have capsules hotels. Like you're gonna stay in like a coffin. Like, I mean, especially you're about to travel with your woman. Don't do that. Cough up the money and be comfortable. Find a nice hotel to stay in. All right. So this was my second time going to Singapore with my family. I mean, you know, with my wife, and this time with my daughter. The question is, will I go to Singapore again for the third time? The answer is absolutely yes, I will. I definitely will visit Singapore again. It may not be soon, but sometime in the future, I definitely will visit Singapore again. So that's, I think, as much as I can give you, brother. So God bless. Take care of yourself. And cheese ears. This is my video, my first video since I came back. All right. Take care.